Hey all, Darius here, and this is a different video for this channel. Now, as many of you may not know, Death Battle is currently going independent, and with that, I've decided to talk about a few matchups that I think would be pretty cool in Death Battle. But, instead of just naming a bunch of matchups, I've decided to do my very own Dream Season. Now, a few caveats before we get into the meat of this video. When it comes to matchups, verdict really isn't my main prerogative. Animation and banter potential are. So if I'm not like beep boop matchup robot, you'd probably know why that's the case. Anyway, let's get into the first episode. Starting off our season, we have a matchup that, if you know me in the matchup community, you may know that I appreciate this one a lot. That being Blanca versus Victor. Electric-based characters from Capcom games who are considered freaks. Now, the main thing about this is the banter between these two. Especially if, Blanca believes that Victor is just a monster, and Victor thinks that Blanca is another Darkstalker. And, Blanca is just trying to get Victor away from him, and that's how the fight starts. As for who wins, it's gotta be Blanca, being that he's been in the scene longer than Victor has, and Victor isn't really as fleshed out as Blanca, so yeah, give Blanca a chance. For episode 2, we start to get into non-Death Battle standards. And one kind of medium that we don't really see on Death Battle, with few exceptions, is web shows. So that's why I chose for episode 2 to be Strong Bad vs. Brock. Literal red-headed doofuses who annoy others and have weird perspectives. Now, the main thing I want from this matchup is the battle to be formatted like a Strong Bad email. Because it would just be funny to see Strong Bad read the email, which would probably be Brock saying that he's more stronger than Strong Bad, and that's kind of how the battle starts. And with that in mind, unfortunately, Brock kind of wins this one because, like with Blanca, it's more like how much stuff Brock has done that could actually be considered feats. Because I know that, technically Strong Bad levels to Strong Mad, being that he once lived a punch by Strong Mad a few times. But yeah, otherwise, Brock kind of wins in this instance. Also, a bit of a thing about the track name. The name itself is based around the format of how Strong Bad usually answers his emails, which I thought it would be funny if it was in that format. Speaking of internet shows, being that Death Battle is now independent, I think that it would be kind of a missed opportunity if I didn't mention this matchup. That being Ian and Anthony versus Bill and Ted. Duos who are both smart, but in the most stupid ways. Now, the main reason why I mention this is that Smosh is also an independent company, and the fact that Ian and Anthony started doing the sketches again, it kind of got me thinking, hey, these two have a lot more similarities than I thought. Why do people match these two up with Mordecai and Rigby? I do not know, and anybody who comments it, you will probably not get me to care. But otherwise, this matchup I think could be interesting, especially with maybe Bill and Ted starting off as their younger selves, and the same with Ian and Anthony. And then it starts a few years later, and they meet up with Smosh in the present day, which they're both their modern equivalents. So yeah, and that's kind of how the battle starts. Yeah, as for who wins, it's kind of a mix up depending on how much of Smosh they're going to be using, especially if they decide to include like a lot of the movie stuff, which I'm hoping they don't. But yeah, otherwise, if Ian and Anthony if they ever did this matchup and Ian and Anthony do not voice themselves, that would just be a crying shame. But yeah, if Death Battle can make this happen, make it happen. Okay, so let's go back to the normal Death Battle fare. And another returner contestant with Yoshi versus Glowbox, prehistoric animalistic creatures who are the companions of the main character, with Yoshi being for Mario and Glowbox being for Rayman. Now, there's a few things that can make or break this battle depending on who you ask. And that is how the battle would go down. Like, would they go to Yoshi's... would Glowbox go to Yoshi's Island? Would Yoshi end up finding the tribe of Glowboxes? Yeah, it's just really, like, weird to try to think of this battle without thinking about the comedy aspect. In fact, it actually kind of fits more a DBX than a death battle, but after Yoshi vs. Riptor, Yoshi also needs a nice one. As for who wins, I think with Yoshi's experience, I think that he would have a better chance at winning. But who knows, maybe another Rayman game will come out before this match happens, and it'll make Glowbox Ultra Planet level. Who knows? Episode 5. We're now going to two territories that aren't as frequent on Death Battle. That being Pokemon and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I mean, there's more Pokemon episodes than JoJo, but that's neither here nor there. Introducing Wally vs. Koichi Hirose. Children who gain some form of mystical creature while with their best friends. Koichi gaining echoes with Josuke, and Wally gaining a Ralts, which then evolves into a Gallade from Brandon. And yeah, this one, could you imagine, like, how cute this matchup would be? Like, they start off as friends, but then as they go on, they start to get suspicious of each other, especially when Wally sees, like, some form of echoes, and then he unleashes his Gallade, and that's how they start fighting. It would just be interesting to say the least. Now, for who wins, it depends. If they're gonna use Wally's team from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, there might be a chance that Wally wins, but I haven't seen all of JoJo Part 3 or 4. So, who knows, maybe Koichi has some kind of feat that I am just missing. But yeah, let's see this episode in action, eh? And now we're diving back in with the weird pick. Another series that we don't really see from Death Battle is Minecraft, and also one is Left 4 Dead, and I'm just gonna cut the segue here. It's the Warden versus the Tank. Large mutated masses with sensitivity to sound. Yeah, this one's kind of a guilty pleasure matchup for me. Like, when I first thought of it, I was like, oh, this may be interesting, being that Minecraft is starting to add lore to their games now, and that means that Death Battle can actually do research on Minecraft. But then when I start to think about it, it's like, what was I thinking? But still, I think it could be an interesting matchup in the right circumstances. Like, maybe the tank ends up in, like, the Deep Dark, or because Hale knows that the Warden wouldn't really fit fit in the tanks world. So yeah. Other than that, I kind of like this matchup, but it doesn't need to be a complete death battle, which is probably why I placed it in the first half. And now we're getting into a death battle episode that I really want to happen, and it's also one of the two most frequent sources used in death battle: Chewbacca versus Groot. Companions with weird ways of speech to stoic pilots. Yeah, I don't think that a lot of people are as interested in this match as I am. Maybe you have like one or so people who say, "Oh, that's an interesting matchup." But if you really think about it, we haven't really had a Marvel versus Star Wars matchup. So having this as like the precedent kind of makes me overthink. So, especially being that neither of them speak, the banter potential would just be out of the window unless they decided to use subtitles, which I think they should, because I think it would make for a funnier death battle if they just had subtitles in the bottom to show what they're saying. But otherwise, yeah, this is a really funny matchup, and it's kind of sad that Chewbacca may or may not be losing it. The mid-season finale. And you know what? I think we should end this first half on a good note. And by good note, I mean only good for me. It's Rena and Mia versus Ben Tennyson. Young adults who have multiple beings at their disposal and use their power to defend the world. Now you're probably thinking, but what about Joker versus Journo? And what about Ben versus... Are there really any other good and interesting matchups besides against Jade and Yuki? Well, in my opinion, this fits a little bit more than either one of those matchups. Plus, if the Death Battle Kickstarter is anything to go by, we're gonna get Giorno versus Joker anyway, so why not just do Ben versus Ren to be interesting? Now, one thing that I kind of want to see from this match is the possibility of Ren stealing Ben's hearts. And, like, the heart is, like, a bunch of his experiences. But, knowing the Death Battle team and the limits they have, I don't think that would be the case. But yeah, it's kind of precedent that Ren would probably win this more than Ben, knowing how bad Ben can lose in certain situations. As we get into the mid-season premiere and the latter half of these episodes, we're going to be more focusing on serious episodes. More episodes that you would actually see on Death Battle if they given them the chance, with few exceptions. That be first off being Spider-Man Noir versus the Green Hornet, masked vigilantes with noir aesthetics. Now, this one is not the best when it comes to the Spider-Man Noir matchups. In fact, I'm not really like all in on it, kind of like with a lot of these matchups now that I can think about it. But yeah, I really like the concept. Like maybe it starts off in black and white, and of course as they fight, they then travel to the Green Hornets universe, where he's all in green, but Spider-Man Noir is all in black, because that's the way his universe is run. As for who wins, I think Spider-Man Noir has it because he would be comparable to Spider-Man, which they used for the case of many of the alternative Spideys in the past. But yeah, this is interesting. But as long as Green Hornet actually gives a darn and fights with all his grit, I wouldn't mind him losing on this one. And immediately I take back what I said in the Spider-Man Noir vs. Green Hornet entry, because we have our official joke matchup for the season. And if you know me, then you may know that I'm interested in this. That being Marvin versus Fred Figglehorn. Hyperactive teens with weird points of view who also happen to be voiced or played by Lucas Cruikshank. Now, the big thing with this is that if they're going to be playing this matchup straight, I think Marvin has a bigger chance of winning than Fred does, because Fred is just a kid. And since he's a kid, he doesn't really have that much strength. Heck, in Marvin, in one episode, they had him eat a bunch of chocolates to the point where he got a toothache, and his tooth became a bomb. But if this goes as I think it's going to go, I think, if they're playing it straight, Marvin definitely wins. If they don't, they're possibly going to make both of them be the loser, and Lucas just comes up from the smoke saying, "Enough of this. I need to get rid of these characters." But yeah. But trust me, this is the second to last real joke matchup on this list. So just take that in mind. And now for a serious DC versus something matchup of the season. That being Flex Metallo versus Bobo from Bobo. Men who have eccentric personalities and protect their homes using their key attributes, with Bobo's being his hair and Flex's being his muscles. Now this one I actually searched Twitter for, because I was just looking for some extra slots for this video. But this one made the most interesting of sense, because we don't really get to see that many obscure Marvel characters, with the exception of maybe the Submariner. And we don't get to see many comedic anime characters on Death Battle, unless you count maybe Dragon Ball as a pseudo comedic anime. But yeah, well, from what I can tell, Bobo is kind of an infinitely admirable character, because those who have never seen Bobo probably have no idea who this character is. But if you've seen them during the early 2000s, you know exactly how they are and what they do. So I think it would go into a bit of a niche. Plus, Flex appearing in Doom Patrol kind of goes up to his appeal a bit, and he is kind of the one who I think is going to win this, because he could probably compare to a lot of DC's more maybe superhuman level characters, being that he's in Doom Patrol. I've not seen Doom Patrol, but I imagine he does some things in it, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, let's move on. And now we have the last really dumb matchup for this video. And with all segues out of the way, it's Pea Shooter versus Red, the mascot characters of franchises that are meant to kill time. Yeah, I know the most popular Plants vs. Zombies matchup is the Plants versus the Monkeys, but I think this one is the more reasonable of the two, because with the Plants you would have to put in a lot of time to the PvZ franchise, and while you wouldn't have to take as much time with a matchup like this. I still think that it would be interesting to see these two fight. As for how they would fight, I think that the pea shooter may think that the bird is working for the zombies, when in reality it's because the owner ends up getting one of their eggs, and that's how the fight begins. I can't really say much more because, man, I've been doing multiple takes for these, and my brain is a bit fried. As for who wins, because of the just amount of stuff they've put Angry Birds in, Red has more of a chance of winning, but with PvZ heroes, who knows, maybe Green Shadow has some form of ability that makes them, more powerful or such. Again, my brain's a bit fried, so yeah, let's move on. And now we're getting into the final four, the four biggest matchups that I think would be incredibly interesting. Maybe. And to start this top four off, we have Demise versus King Piccolo, the previous incarnations of popular characters within their franchises. Demise being the reincarnation of Ganondorf, and King Piccolo being the father/reincarnated version of Piccolo. But yeah, this would be interesting to me because I'd like to think that some of the DBZ minor villains, if you could call King Piccolo a minor villain, who knows? But villain don't really get as much representation. It's mostly in either Z or Super that they would probably focus on. Well, with King Piccolo, all they would need to do is just research Dragon Ball. Or Ball. But out of all the matches that a Dragon Ball character could have, yeah, King Piccolo isn't winning this one because he literally got a full-sized child shot into his abdomen and on the other side, with the only caveat being that he was able to spit out an egg to create Piccolo Jr., which I still don't know how that's possible. Not a lot of DBZ fans don't know why that's possible, and I feel like that would be the crux of the battle. Demise ends up finding a way to punch a hole into King Piccolo's stomach, causing him to spit out the egg. But as soon as he gets to it coming out of his mouth, he squashes his head, because I think Demise would do that. But yeah, I just want to see a Zelda character that isn't the main three, that being Zelda, Link, or Ganondorf. Because trust me, I've been racking my brain with Zelda matchups, especially one involving the hero of trains from Spirit Tracks, and this just seems simpler to me. So yeah, make it happen, Death Battle, or I will. Okay, as we get into the final few episodes, we start to see more and more interesting concepts, at least to me. And this one was also a big one that I found on Reddit, and I haven't seen either one of these two things, but I really want to see how this would happen. That being Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter versus Elizabeth Bennett from Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Alternate variations of important figures who become monster hunters. Now, again, I haven't seen these two. I am going off the dome here. I know barely anything about these two, but the concept is just so great. Imagine like Abraham Lincoln trying to be courteous and like letting Elizabeth pass, but like Elizabeth isn't taking it because I think because Abraham might become a zombie, and being that he's kind of encroaching on her turf. Like maybe he shoots a few stakes a few zombies in the heart, thinking they're vampires. Also, the track name that I came up with for this matchup in particular, Blood Craving Historical Friction. If you know, you know that it's a very clever name. And I couldn't care who wins as long as they make this battle epic. That's the only thing I really care about in this. So, yeah. Hopefully we can get more of these kinds of episodes in Death Battle. Moving on. The penultimate episode. The one that I think should happen. It's up to Death Battle standards. It has a returner in it. And I think that this deserves a matchup more than the episode that this character was originally in. And if you know me, and you know what I complain about in Death Battle, you already know what I'm talking about. It's Green Lantern versus Nova, intergalactic soldiers from Earth who defend the galaxy by joining corps, with Green Lantern clear. And to be clear, this is the Hal Jordan Green Lantern, not the Guy Gardner or the I forgot who the other one was. But yeah, this is just and this one may be on the level of Goku vs. Superman on the amount of time that people have probably asked, hey, how would this matchup go if it actually happened in Death Battle? Well, I'm here for all those who wanted this matchup, but got disappointed because we ended up getting Ben 10 versus Green Lantern instead. Both, from what I can tell, are pretty equal, like, maybe power-wise. I mean, Green Lantern may have, like, the time feats from Ben 10 versus Green Lantern. And Nova may not have a chance. Who knows? Maybe something in the comics says that, oh, Nova can do this now, so it gives him an edge over Green Lantern. I couldn't care less. I just want my favorite DC superhero to actually have an interesting matchup for once, instead of just, oh, he cuts off a child's arm for one scene. Just, as you can tell, I'm using this spot to not just talk about the matchup, but also to complain about Green Lantern versus Ben 10. My brain is fried. I have nothing else to say. Sure, why not? And finally, the last episode of this dream season, and one that I've actually admired for a long time. If you know me, you know I'm a bit of a music nerd, and especially music involving two specific artists. And if you think this one's a joke matchup, then you guys are surely mistaken. It's Composite Weird Al versus Composite Neil Cicerega, musicians well known for their music and eccentric personalities. Okay, so I think that how this would work is that they're both at a concert, like, to maybe show off. Maybe one of them was supposed to go on first, and they ended up getting like bottom billing, and that's how the fight begins. And I would love for them to just end up using a bunch of the stuff from their music videos. Like, Neil, like, shrouding the center in darkness in reference to his Goosebumps music video, and Weird Al just putting on his fat suit to, like, deflect hits away from Neil. Yeah, that kind of stuff would just be very interesting. And I know that having real-life people fight on Death Battle is kind of a no-no, especially after Bieber versus Black. But because this is not just the real people, it's more just the culmination of all of their work. I think this works better as it's kind of like with Ian and Anthony versus Bill and Ted from earlier, or to give another example that wasn't on the stream season, Matt Pat versus Adam Conover, which is a really good matchup, and I really wish they could have done it before Matt Pat retired. But yeah, this is just an amazing matchup. I don't have anything else to say. Either one of them could win, and I wouldn't be disappointed. And, yeah, that's it. And that was my dream season, and hopefully a lot of you liked it. I know that many people in the matchup community take the over-analysis part of the community a bit too seriously. And for me, I'm just here for the awesome visuals and the banter potential, as I said. But if it wasn't for shows like Death Battle or any of the other matchup shows you would be seeing online, we wouldn't be here today. Like, the Versus community would have probably stayed onto forums and chat rooms, but because of Death Battle, we now have, like, full-on animation teams who are working their butts off to make semi-accurate animations to certain characters. And that's why I wanted to make this video in the first place, because Death Battle means so much to me that it definitely deserves to get revived after what happened at Rooster Teeth. So in the link in the description, which I mentioned earlier in the video, there is the link to the Death Battle Kickstarter, which, at the time of me recording this, which is around 4 days after the Kickstarter got started, there's a big possibility that we're going to be getting a bigger and better Death Battle. So, if you can, donate some of your money to the Death Battle Kickstarter, link in the description. And if you like this video and maybe want more of these kinds of videos on this channel, then let me know. Also, if you want to help me out through my financial difficulties, then go donate $1 or more over on my Patreon at patreon.com/DariusDoesStuff. This is Darius, signing out, and have a good day.